welcome back to the second part of this three-part demonstration. Again with a studio audience. Say hi, everyone.
Hi.
And so I'm going to continue what I did this morning, and then this afternoon at 2:45 we'll be able to finish the whole iris. Using the Imitation Sable brushes, I'm going to try and keep one water clean this time. The only thing I've changed, I've not touched anything else since the last demo, apart from I've got a clean glass of water. But if you watch the first part, you'll know that I can't keep it clean. I struggle to keep that clean water, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, so this will be dry now, so I'll have to work on a slightly different technique than I was this morning when it was still wet. And what I'm going to do is still do that negative painting, but I'm going to have much sharper finishes. So this is quite a wet layer, but you'll see I can now sharpen and just bring a little bit more value, tonal value. I'm going to get obsessed about which water pot I'm putting my brush in now. So the French ultramarine and the lemon yellow, giving that really nice green. And I've also got the yellow ochre on my palette just to give me a different green. And I'll drop a little bit of red in every now and then, again, just so it's not all same green. Not overly thinking. What I'm just doing is I'm looking at where I can add detail. Like I said in the first part, I don't want the background to be the main focus. I want the iris to be, but I want a little bit of detail. So all I'm doing is I've got the original in front of me. I've looked at nice shapes that I quite like. I like these leaves. I like the shape of them. I like the definition that they have in the veins. So I'm just using that characteristic just as a feature, but very gently bringing that to life. And because ultramarine is transparent and actually so's the lemon yellow, it kind of faded back here. So I'll see if I can just drop maybe a little bit of red, which is not quite as opaque, and just see if I can keep some of those features. Again, with the brush, still using that size 10, which is a nice all-round brush. I'm going to still use all the detail with that brush, turning, as I mentioned previously, to keep the tip. I'm avoiding this side, I don't know why, so let's just get on and put some colour on. And then I can work my way round. And the reason I worked my way round was because I had really wet paper, which is the Saunders Waterford, I think it's a knot surface. I wasn't actually sure which surface I picked up, because I always like texture. It's not, because rough, you can feel the roughness. And I worked round carefully because it was wet, but now it's dry. I can probably jump around a bit, which is a bit more of a pain for Gary, because I'll just butterfly think.
Don't have to earn my money this afternoon.
Right, I'm going to try and work on this side, Gary.
Okay,
Can't guarantee I'll stick to it, because I'll probably think, oh, wait a minute, I can put this over here. So just adding greens. And you'll see that you get that nice clean finish now. I think my voice is going. I've talked too much since this morning. And put a lighter colour in. So it's got in the original, it's got a nice flat green leaf here. So I'm going to use that shape. But I don't want it to be just a flat green like I have here. I'm going to put a little bit of detail on. Maybe even break it up a little bit by putting a bit of shape in there. I quite like this shape that comes down here. There's a nice green leaf under, or behind the iris, to be honest. Like I say, I'm not being a slave to every detail in this original because there's so much. And it doesn't matter that I put it in different places or things are slightly different because I've taken this same picture, so I'm using my own picture for copyright reasons. And
Sorry, I'm interfering
Sorry,
with Anita and my
you normally can carry on, but
with an audience.
but I got distracted. Normally you wouldn't know when Gary did that, and he does it quite often, to be honest. But I got a bit distracted. So where was I? Yeah, I was talking about the leaves. So I'm not being slavish to every single leaf in the background. And I've taken this photograph, and I've got the same iris, but shot from different angles. And there's different detail in each one of those. So you can, add or take away whatever works or balances the painting for you. No one sees the original when you've done it, unless it's a really obvious image that you want it to look like something. You've got, the great thing about being an artist is you've got free reign. You can add, you can subtract, you can enhance. I'm adding a bit of red, because I can. Oh, I like that bit red there. Okay. And again, so balance. Maybe I'll drop a little bit here. What you're looking at when you're looking at a picture is there's golden thirds. I think that's the term. And the points are here, 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 and here, and that's where your eye will naturally focus. So when you're looking at balance, you're looking at how does it flow, how will you look round a painting. I know it seems something that it's more to remember, more to do, but actually, like I mentioned regularly, if you've walked away and come back to a painting, this is where you'll see whether it balances or not. And these are the things that you're looking for. So just giving a little bit of detail. Quite like that bit of light at the top, but it stands out too much. So I'm just going to take it back, add a little bit of colour, just to make it stand out less, because my focal point is the iris. Mixing again, a bit of blue, bit of red on my, sorry, a bit of yellow and a bit of blue on my brush, mixing as I go along. It's not a botanical piece. I'm not looking for every single realistic colour. I like that now. It's an interpretation of the original. Okay. So I'll go around here, and now I can start to just bring out a few more shapes around here. So I can see a little triangle here and a little triangle there. Just making that less flat. Adding a few little details. Just using the brush to sharpen. So these leaves, someone did say what they were, but I'd forgotten.
Oh, someone said this morning.
Yeah, they said they were something, but I have forgotten what they were. So they're yellow flowers in the background. Like I say, when you're taking a photograph from life, they don't come with tags, which is inconvenient, because I have to try and find out what I'm actually painting. And I do like to know. Firstly, it gives me something to talk about. Secondly, I can then look at a much more cleaner, crisper, detailed, different angles, and then understand the shapes that I'm seeing. I don't want too much detail in here. They have the 3 leaves. Just trying to... the background is not the area I want to focus on. I do want to give them a little bit more shape. So a bit of negative painting, a bit of shadow. Just nice shapes. And again, I'm not being slavish to the actual plant. It's not a, they've got nice, a 3 area in the middle. It's not a botanical picture, but I just want to break this area up a little bit. Suggest that these have some definition. I'm really thinking about not overdoing it. No. So, lemon yellow, bright. What I did there was I just double checked that the colour I was putting on would not be too bright. Don't like that, that's a bit too... doesn't make sense. And like I say, it's better to walk away. If something's not making sense, walk away, come back to it, and then things tend to fall into place. I'm going to leave that. See what I can do over here. See if I can bring out some really nice shape there. These are background, these aren't the focal point. Drop some ochre in just to give me a different... Can always come back and add a little bit of detail if I feel it's not enough. Okay. I've got some long sticky things here. I know I'm supposed to know what they are, but I don't. And they're quite nice to add that extra bit of balance. So a bit of detail here and a bit of here. Again, I'm thinking about where they go. So you'll notice from the original I've missed out big areas of the other lilies. These would have taken too long. It wasn't the focal point. I want to concentrate on a single piece. I'm now going to use the brush, which is great because it does the job for me.
You said lilies, did you mean irises?
I meant irises. I did that last time when I painted lilies. I called them irises. I kind of getting confused. The worst confusion is like green and orange, which is really a problem. Forget what they're called. Okay. So just using this brush.
And that beautiful orange colour.
Shit. Yeah. I know what I mean. It's just everybody else is confused, obviously. Right, let's drop in some more colour. Because like I say, again, it's not the focal point. And I know it will fade. Not fade as such, it will be absorbed into the paper because these are transparent colours. So I've got an opportunity to be able to bring them back or take them down as much as I want. But look at that. It's really great when your tools do the job for you. I don't have to do every little detail. So this is very samey colour. So just add in a bit more. I'm going to go reckless and add some red. And that red looks nice in there. Let's go on to the other one and let's see what the balance is behind. So holding the brush in different directions and pushing down and releasing just gives this great shape. It's amazing what you can do with just one brush. I haven't changed brushes. I was planning to, for the detail, but actually I already get the detail from this fine brush. and I'm going over the masking tape. The masking tape's there to give me a nice border, but if you go over it, it shows things outside. This is just a snapshot.
The microphone's playing up again, Anita. Pretend I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, you sneaked up on me last time. I kind of know you're there now, so it's not quite as off-putting.
I don't know if it's Vic's mic in the other room that's interfering.
Tell Vic.
Put it on the floor.
So we've got a workshop going on in the other room, and they've got the mic on the artist to be able to hear him. And we don't usually have both mics going at the same time because we're filming the workshop. So that could be what the issue is.
At least you've not got Vic's voice coming out of your mouth, which...
I know when we're at shows, that does happen. You kind of got, the artists are competing with each other, and it can be a bit off-putting. So I apologise for any mic issues. Gary is trying his best to control them.
I think I've sorted it now.
But, so he sorted it. And like I say, he sneaked up on me earlier. I wasn't actually expecting him to be there in my pocket because I've got my mic in my pocket. Right, let's just add some darks. So I'm not getting the dark I'm looking for from the ultramarine and the lemon. So just dropping in a touch of the burnt sienna. So burnt sienna and ultramarine, great combination for dark colours. You get brown greys, you get blue greys, and I'm using it as a green grey because I'm just adding it into the yellow. But it just gives you that dark without having to use a black or a dark colour. And I'm all for using ready mixed colours. If you've got them, use them. It's not a problem. But I do love having a simple palette and then being able to, create the dark colours. So all I do is add a little bit more blue to that burnt sienna, and I get a bluer grey. And you can see here how I can really just darken. Don't understand where that's going, so let's bring it up a little bit. Let's add some darker areas up here. So all I'm doing is looking for balance, thinking about the balance of the piece. And those made no sense, but even just adding a slight bit of dark in these areas, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. I was working on this. So this has a lovely clean streak down the side. Clean, crisp. Now that is too bright. It just stands out. There's no reason for it. I can easily tone that down. Layer. And these are the pieces that you find that when you come back to things, you go, no, that doesn't work. Or that does work. The bits that do work when you were struggling with, it's a really nice feeling. Just using the water to move the paint rather than adding more. Okay. So now that's just taking that down, that little touch. I'm going to just do a little bit more. I'm really concentrating and thinking about the background. How much more do I want to do? Because I don't want it to be the focal point. I don't want it to be overpowering. Just adding a little bit more depth around the iris. Right. I'm going to stop because I can always come back because it's a bit blank in this area, which actually would be more detail, but I'm losing track of what I'm looking for, so I'll move on. So normally at this stage, if you kind of started, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where I'm going, you walk away, you have a break. I haven't got that luxury, apart from it's split into 3, so I kind of have, but I knew I was getting obsessed. I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't know where I was going. I'm just, so leave it. I'll come back to it. It will make sense later. So now I'm going to work on the colours in the iris. And this is where I can drop in a I've got quite a dirty palette, which I could clean, but I quite like you don't always know what colours you're picking up, and that's part of the fun, to be honest. So just using a clean brush. What I'm also doing is using the original to give myself an idea of what colours and what bits, what they mean, because I think that doesn't make sense up there, but I can alter it at this stage. Drop a bit of the burnt sienna in, so it goes round here. So even though you've got it sketched down, it may have lost some lines as part of the process, or it may not make sense. So still constantly referring back to your original. So even now I'm still sketching and just referring back. So I can correct as I go along. So I do know this yellow ochre is quite opaque, so I'm just making sure I'm keeping it quite wet. So that goes there. There's another piece that comes round here. People haven't seen the original, they don't know if it's exactly right. Flowers are quite nice that they have some structure, but they also, can be a little bit random. Okay. Just putting the blue on. I actually want a grey, green, so a bit of red, and see what colour I can make from what I already had on my palette. Not bad. What I want is everything to push forward from the background. I can hear Gary typing away, so obviously someone is asking him questions online.
I'm sharing the link for the first part.
Okay, right. Now my yellow's got a little contaminated over there, so I'm struggling to pick up nice yellow. So with a colour like that, especially the light colours, I will put a little bit to one side so I can keep that clean. Because this is quite clean green. So it's only a first layer. I can alter it. But what I'm doing is I'm helping take away some of that. I don't know where things are. Take a bit of green into here. Bit of the yellow ochre. So because I want the colour to have different values, I'm bringing the colour down into the other colour. So I put it on the top here and I'm bringing it down. And you'll notice I'm not always filling in the gaps, because I think it just adds that little bit of texture. Just picked up a little bit of the red, because I think that you have to see a little bit more colour than is actually there as an artist. I can see purples, a bit of purple dropping in here. I'm still looking at the original. I'm still planning and thinking about what bits go where. Now this needs a clean edge because it is a solid. And I need it to be even. I need it to make sense and attach itself to the different parts. I don't want it floating. But I'm also thinking about, does it stand out? Is it part of?
Anita,
Yes.
we've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay, that's not a problem.
On track.
Because at the moment I'm just putting the colour down. The detail right at the end. And actually you're often surprised how little you possibly need. If you've just put the colour on. Depends how detailed you want to paint. But I often find that if you put the paint on and you've allowed it to do its business, the detail will just come by itself. Add a drop of green into there. So let's really concentrate a little bit more on here. I'm going to try and leave some areas. On the original, you haven't got the light. The light, it's very flat. And this is where you have to think about bringing that extra bit of light in yourself. So I'm going to leave gaps. I'm going to add an extra shadow, even though it's not quite there on the picture. And I'm also thinking about that this is separate from the background. And all I'm doing is just moving up, thinking to myself what bits make sense. So I've lost here a little bit of this initial colour that wraps around the new iris. I remembered it was an iris, bearded iris. But what I can do is I know most of these colours are not that staining. I can correct it. Just lift it. Plus, I'm using Saunders Waterford, which is a really tough paper that allows a lot of work. So you can scrub it a lot and you can lift off, and it's not going to affect the surface of the paper. So just lighten that up a little bit. Now I can bring it down. What's really hard is it's translucent here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to achieve that. Often it's just a case of see what happens. Okay, go. I'm not getting the detail in, so I'll move on. Right, let's go on to this piece. So, what I can see is it has a dark shadow just around there. Push it in, so just keeping my brush clean. And tiny touches like that dark shadow just helped bring it together. Right, let's see if I can put some of these shadows. Too much colour. Got to. Tried it earlier, but it was too wet. What you also have to be careful of is too many layers. You don't want to add so many layers with a watercolour because you'll tend to make a muddy colour. So again, flicking around because I can just see areas I need to work on as I'm doing this. Right, what doesn't make sense is that bit behind here. It's not giving me a nice edge. So I can paint the background to make it stand out. So what's that? That is another bit of the leaf here. So again, I've lost it slightly. Just wetting that area to reshape. So people say you can't correct in watercolours. You can, absolutely. Paper dependent a lot of the time. But there you go, lifted that off. Probably need it to dry. And now I can rethink. To be honest, I've actually seen people wash off a watercolour paper, completely wash it off. And again, it's dependent on the paper. So I've seen all this about you can't alter a watercolour. You can. There are lots of ways of working with watercolour. And like I say, a wonderful paper like this, Saunders Waterford, you can really alter and adapt and move things. Like that purple bit in the middle. There. That beautiful purple bit. Normally I don't have a lot of time to put the detail in. I quite like to leave detail out because it's easier. Just looking at not only what's happening in the... So if I've got dark there, I need it to make sense. Okay, that's not straight. It is now. Okay. So I can also shape, bring back those edges. I think that's got a bit too lost. I've overworked. I've been overthinking. Okay. Just lighten it up. Fix it. Leave it, move on, and come back. So that's just lighten that a bit. I've been overthinking, overworking it. Let's go into the bit at the top. Comes round and it comes up there. Just add the yellow. Drop in some of the red. And so you'll probably find bits work a little better because you've learnt from areas you've just done. You'll realise that you put too much in. You didn't put enough in. Add some green. Not strong enough. It's got green up here. A little bit of green around here. Let's tie it together a little bit more. Looking at the direction of any detail you can see. So on this bit, and probably on here, there's some nice fine vertical lines going down. So if you suggest those, it just adds that extra dimension. And you've got some creases coming around here. You've got the dark undershadow of a slightly tipped. All still with this big brush. I probably won't change, to be honest. Just, it's amazing what you can actually do with that larger brush. Green, that ochre. How many minutes?
Well, we're getting close to our time, I think.
Okay.
It's good people, the tea break to have.
Okay, so we'll leave it there. I'll come back because this is the second part of a 3-part session. The next session's at 2:45. I hope you enjoyed that. And that's bye from me and bye from the audience. Bye. And join us later.